Well, hi everybody. It's Joe Cioffi here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show for this Wednesday, the 18th of March, 2020, the last day of winter. And at least for the time being, Mr. Rao is unavailable. But if I don't know what's going on, if he's having some issues, I haven't heard from him yet. But I've got his page opened up. So when he's ready, he'll ring and we'll get him into the live stream. So hopefully everybody had a nice day, a relatively easy day. With everybody kind of maybe confined at least home, not necessarily indoors, but home. I went walking today. I think I walked over 8 miles before it was all said and done. At least that's what my phone said, and it was a nice enough day. Ah, here he is. Hi, you're on the air.
Yeah.
Hello there.
Are we live?
Yeah, we are live. I started a minute or so ago. I just barely got through my hellos, so you might as well get through your hellos.
I actually was just a couple of minutes late. I sent you a text actually saying I'd probably be 5 minutes late, but
Oh,
here
okay.
I am.
No, my phone is upstairs. I usually just leave the phone upstairs, so I didn't get the message. Not a
Good.
problem. So,
Well,
just saying to everybody, I did a lot of walking today. I'm extra tired. I walked uh, I walked almost 5 miles 4 miles this morning and 4 miles this afternoon. So
oh my
for a
goodness.
grand total of 8 miles. Never got anywhere, but you know, so of course, everybody's. I just can't sit inside all day long. So and the weather was nice enough, so I just went out and there wasn't much wind. The sun, that nice mid-March sun is pretty strong. So as long as the air mass you're in is not overly cold, it's actually quite comfortable, and it was in the 50s, so it felt good.
Just moving my camera around here,
No,
but
that's all right. They just
eight
completely ignoring me, but that's fine.
eight
Uh,
miles is amazing.
yeah, it's good. I've always liked to walk. It's good exercise and very therapeutic. Um, just a couple of things before we get on with the weather that I think are most important in the situation that we are in. This is a time that you should keep your closest ones even closer to you, and I'm referring to your hairstylist and your colorist. Okay, because
Look
in about 2 weeks we're going to see.
look at all that hair, Joe.
Yes. Oh, wow.
That's
In about 2 weeks we're going to see what everybody's real hair color actually is.
uh, well, I had my hair cut today.
Well, I thought you had it cut yesterday. We talked about it yesterday.
No, that was just simply a matter of a style that I was trying,
Working on?
that I was working on. But now this is a completely new style.
Oh, what's new
I like
about it?
yesterday. Yesterday was kind of like early Mo.
Okay. No, I'm curly here.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like the minimal. I'm going for that. I think I've kind of succeeded in that serial killer look.
No. Huh.
So, by the way, another thing I've noticed today was, so I went to the local supermarket, and the new thing now is the folks in the parking lot handicapping. They're handicapping what it's like inside before they go in, or if they've come out from the store, they're handicapping what's going to be there for the next couple of days as they kind of plan. So I've been kind of maneuvering because yesterday I went in for chicken, okay, and they were out of chicken, but they had eggs. All right, I'm not making this up. I mean, they were completely out of chicken yesterday at the local Stop and Shop, but they had eggs. Today I wanted chicken yesterday. So I decided, okay, I'm not going to get anything since the chicken wasn't there. I didn't even think about the eggs. So today I needed eggs. So I went in and there was plenty of chicken, which I didn't need today.
No eggs.
Not an egg to be found. So that requires a new approach to things. And that is, um, when I go in there, I got to make sure that as far as the bare essentials, if I need something tomorrow and it's there today, I'll get it today rather than wait for tomorrow.
Right.
So I did get the chicken today. I did learn my lesson immediately. So I got chicken today, which I'm going to make tomorrow. Okay. And then I got to go tomorrow. Then we found another store that actually had eggs. One of the local, small grocery stores, the Handy Pantry, they were
Right.
completely stocked with everything from paper towels to toilet paper, which we don't need, to eggs. So we got our eggs.
And as we saw yesterday, you have more than your fair share of toilet paper.
Yeah, I'm not going to show my Scott paper again. Yes, plenty of toilet paper, single ply. It'll last for months. No issues. No chicken and egg joke, ruthless goat. I'm not going to go down that particular road. So we got. It's the last day of winter in a winter that wasn't. We should say, by the way, too, Scott Briller, the chairman's not here tonight. He's taking care of his mom. So Timothy Veltman is standing in for him, and he sent in today's Veltman Jeopardy question. Would you like to do it now or save it for later?
I'll save it for later. Let's. There is some active weather of some sort tonight. We are looking at a period between midnight and dawn where we, in some cases, may pick up, I think, as much as a half to 1 inch in the lower Hudson Valley, maybe some ponding on some roadways. Although, ironically, not too many people will be on those roadways overnight, and maybe even on into the early hours of tomorrow morning.
All right. All right. So we'll do that. Before we get to that, Mr. Ray, a couple of unusual things that I found. But we usually do. I usually start off with those watches and warnings, and I noticed that in the island of Hawaii, which we don't talk about too often unless there's a tropical storm going on, but in Kauai, there's a severe thunderstorm watch, which you don't often see severe thunderstorm watches in Hawaii. And at the same time, on the Big Island, there is a winter weather advisory for above 12,000 feet.
Yeah.
Up to 5 inches of snow is forecast. Everybody else is under a flash flood watch, which kind of makes sense. I didn't really look at the specifics of what's going on. There must be some kind of deep upper low sitting out in that part of the Pacific that's doing all this. But yeah, I thought it was kind of odd. You have a severe thunderstorm watch in the far western part of the island chain and a winter weather advisory on the eastern part. And for those of you who don't know, it does snow in Hawaii on the Big Island.
So,
Up in the elevated areas.
well, there's a major observatory, Mauna Kea Observatory, and they're located at 13,800 feet above sea level. And yes, they do get very cold, and yes, they occasionally will get their share of snow. And this is obviously one of the occasions. The thunderstorm over Kauai. Now, I consider I've been to Hawaii a few times. Kauai, I think, is the prettiest of all of the islands of Hawaii. And what makes me think that you're right, Joe, is that they have something called a TUT, a tropical upper tropospheric trough, that normally occurs during the winter and early spring season. I only know this because in 1991, when there was a total eclipse of the sun and everybody was flocking to Hawaii, it was in the month of July, the clearest month of the year. 95% of the time it's clear, but there was that 5% on the day of the eclipse.
Right.
And the meteorologists at the National Weather Service in Honolulu explained that this was due to a tut. And they were like shaking their heads in disbelief. He says, "We don't often get this in the month of July. We usually get this in the colder months, but not."
Right. Not in this time.
So this is probably I haven't even looked at the map and have not seen what's going on in Hawaii, but I think you're absolutely right. This is probably being caused by some sort of an upper disturbance that is
Right.
generating all of this activity.
And meanwhile, back home, we have winter storm warnings and blizzard warnings up in northeastern Colorado and on up into western Nebraska and southeastern Wyoming. And this is all part of this storm system that's coming out of that area and through the Central Plains that's heading for the Great Lakes. And it's all going to it's going to produce probably some widespread severe weather over the next couple of days. We've got tornado watches up tonight in parts of North Texas, flash flood watches up, northeast Texas on up into eastern Oklahoma, northwestern Arkansas, and southern Missouri. Other various winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories in the southwest, and a few leftover winter weather advisories in parts of the Sierra Nevadas. and also some winter weather advisories in northeastern Minnesota. But really, it's this area here in Colorado, Nebraska, and I brought up the NAM model for today, just kind of focus on this, Joe. And you've got this, you've had this persistent trough out in the west, and we have two upper lows in play, a well-developed upper low here in northwest Nevada. Then on the southern end of this, coming off the Pacific into northern Baja California, have a second upper low. And as I'm going to just kind of move this through the daytime, through overnight tonight and into tomorrow. You see the two systems, just one sort of pivots around the other. The southern system lifts northeastward into Colorado, and that's really what is going to be producing this winter storm. The other upper low just kind of sits there in California and gradually weakens, and the energy with that southern part of it winds up getting kicked out to the northeast. That's part of our issue here, Joe, with the warm front that's going to be struggling to get through here.
Right. I said that yesterday. I think that everybody is just arbitrarily saying, "Oh, but we're going to be in the 70s on Friday," and yeah, it's quite possible that we will see that. But my concern always has been with these warm fronts. Sometimes they come through easily enough. Sometimes they struggle. This looks like one of those strugglers. I would not be surprised if people woke up on Friday morning, looked out the window, and saw a cloak of fog and maybe some spotty drizzle. And then it's going to be the case of pushing the warm front through, burning off the fog. I think we're going to see mainly cloudy skies on Friday. And then with the cold front approaching from the west, we were talking about this yesterday too, Joe, maybe some convection. Well, the Storm Prediction Center doesn't have us too far away from
marginal risk. I saw that.
Risk. So
all right, I'll bring up the map in a moment. I'm going to shoot up the surface low through Colorado, and you see rain here, some heavier rains coming out of Texas and then moving northeastward fairly quickly. But there is this low as it starts to strengthen a bit. You get this area of snow. It's probably more about the wind than it is about the actual snow amounts. Not that the snow amounts won't be significant, they will be, but we're not talking about snow in many feet here. We're probably talking at most in some areas on the order of about a foot or so. Yeah, some of the mountains are going to wind up with about a foot and a half. You see the 21-inch print that is well west of Denver. Denver itself gets a 6-inch print. But in a lot of the areas where we have the actual blizzard warnings, the snowfall forecast amounts are in the order of 2 to 4, 3 to 6. Nothing really crazy. And then those amounts lighten up a bit as you go northeastward from there through the rest of Nebraska and then on up into Minnesota and into northern Wisconsin. Then they pick up again near the Great Lakes. But this is the bigger deal is going to be in Colorado. Also through parts of Utah and then down into Arizona as well. Looks like from about Flagstaff south and west, kind of in that band there, with some local amounts up to a foot. But just going to what you said with respect to the severe weather. So here is SPC for tomorrow. We'll come back to tonight in a bit, but this is for tomorrow. It goes into tomorrow morning. Which day do I have here? So this is day one. I'm sorry. So this is for tonight. There's your slight risk and enhanced risk in northeast Texas into southern Oklahoma, and also small area of marginal risk into Kentucky. Then on Thursday into Friday morning, this was upgraded, Joe. They've got enhanced risk now from northeastern Arkansas into southwestern Indiana and southern Illinois, and also enhanced risk in southern Iowa with a big area of slight risk in the middle Mississippi Valley to the lower lakes. And then on Friday, as you said, this will be with the approaching cold front after the warm front goes by. Marginal risk. Looks like they extended the marginal risk a little bit into northwest New Jersey and, in the Hudson Valley north of Route 84. This looks like it was expanded a little bit from what I saw this morning. Maybe we'll wind up seeing a small area of slight risk by the time we get there.
Well, I think the thing about Friday and convection is whether or not we break out into some sunshine. If we do see sunshine on Friday, there's no question that I think much of the Northeast will be at least marginal, if not, as you pointed out, perhaps even slight risk. But again, the key is going to be that warm front its motion through our area, whether or not we have, a thick cloak of fog in the morning on Friday, whether or not we burn it off, whether or not we get the sun, a whole bunch of things. But hopefully we will warm up as we have been promoting, as many forecasters have been promoting, to or above 70. That's all I've been hearing about all of this week is I can hardly wait till Friday. It's going to be in the 70s. Well, maybe, but then again, if we get really socked in early in the day, it may be a tough struggle, a tough fight to get there.
Yeah.
Uh, and maybe that, if you're not particularly a fan of severe weather, as I've said often in such cases, root against the sun because the more sun we do break out into on Friday afternoon, the better the odds that we might be looking at some severe weather watches going up perhaps for later in the day on Friday. We'll see.
Yeah, I got the 9Z NAM up. This is for 9Z Friday morning. So this is 5 a.m. Friday. It looks like the way I got it drawn looking at the isobars that the warm front is probably just south and west of New York City at this point with that 997 low that's in northern Michigan. So I'm going to just kind of roll this along. But this is where I'm just drawing it straight off the isobars. I really didn't look at the actual other levels. It looks like the gradient, the southwest isobars get pretty tight here going into Friday morning into Friday afternoon. It's actually kind of breezy. I mean, I think the warm front may actually, by the time we get to 11 o'clock in the morning, if the NAM is right, it looks like it's already up to about Cape Cod. I don't know. It may still struggle, though. Models, like you said, the models love to bring warm fronts through here in the Northeast. And, sometimes the bottom 2,000 feet of the atmosphere, the marine air stays kind of tough, especially in the early part of the spring.
I also think that storm, that small little wave of low pressure that'll be somewhere to the east of Cape Cod early Friday morning, if that kind of intensifies, then what you have is kind of an upper or maybe even a surface northwesterly flow that kind of bucks that warm front from being able to come on in and through. And then you get that strange kind of loopy.
Yeah, I got the map up here Friday evening. There's a
Yeah.
low right over Cape Cod. There's a little closed isobar there. Yeah, the warm front at that point is still pinned down south of us. You're right. Sometimes you can get, that happens. It winds up pinning the warm front down to the south for a longer period of time.
And that being said, then we have to answer questions on Friday afternoon from people who say, "I thought you said it was going to be 70 today," and especially on Long Island.
Yeah.
Long Island is perhaps the most prone to not seeing the warm front come on through as predicted, and sometimes in cases like that, you have temperatures like still in the 50s on Long Island, and meanwhile Sussex, New Jersey, or just south and west of New York get well into the 70s to near 80.
I'm bringing up the temperature contours here, and actually on the NAM anyway. And if the 50 degree isotherm is pointing south of Long Island down to off the Delaware coast. The isobars are bulging in the other direction in southeastern Pennsylvania and into western New Jersey, where the 70-degree isotherm is up almost to about northern New Jersey. You got the 65-degree isotherm in New York City, and by 4 in the afternoon, again, that 65-degree isotherm is bulging up into the Hudson Valley. It does suggest on the NAM, even though if you look at the surface map, it does want to try to fly that warm front through, but it does suggest that there is a bit of a marine influence along and off the coast that may be stubborn and hold the temperatures down. So that's something that we'll have to consider it when we get there. And of course, the other thing is too, Joe. I'm looking up in the Great Lakes, so behind this, there's some fairly chilly air. Temperatures in the 20s and teens by 11 o'clock Friday night into the northern lakes, which for March 20th, 21st is kind of chilly, and that air eventually is going to push into the eastern part of the United States. So looks like the weekend is going to be dry, but it is going to be on the chilly side.
It'll be a cold night Saturday night in the lower Hudson Valley, and Sunday too, with temperatures in the upper and middle 20s, I think, generally speaking. And we'll see temperatures maybe not quite get to 50 on Saturday, and I think the core of the cold or chilly air will be over us for Sunday and on into Monday. And the young lady who was cutting my hair today, Joe, her name is Lori. She's as I'm sitting there and getting my hair cut, she says, "So what's this I see on my phone? This morning it showed two snowflakes for Monday, and now it's showing
Oh,
three
make
snow."
it go away. Stop. No.
Now I won't, like I said yesterday morning, I woke up and found a coating of snow on my deck.
Right.
So for up here, I would not rule out the possibility, let's say end of Monday or Monday evening, for perhaps a little bit of wet snow at the onset. If you're thinking about a big snowstorm or a big a chance of a significant snow, even up here in the Hudson Valley, I frankly don't see it.
Well, you've got this big cold high that goes up into southeastern Canada, which is all fine and dandy. The only problem is that the high keeps on going. There's no blocking. It kind of times out with some, moisture with the leftover frontal boundary. So here's this cold front for Friday that moves on through. The GFS actually is a little bit more bullish with the development of some convection on the front Friday afternoon. But the bottom part of that front stalls out in the Gulf. And then if there's another wave that comes out just as the high moves out offshore, and there's a short wave that is swinging across the Great Lakes, but it's weak. So, yeah, you got a little bit of a precip with a weak low off the North Carolina coast, but the high is already into New Brunswick. By Monday morning, it's over Nova Scotia, and then it's already long gone. So, I mean, on this particular run of the GFS, there's hardly any precip that is over land. Now, I know the European did a bit more with this today and actually has some accumulating snows for upstate New York, well north of Route 84, on up into the Catskills and points northward. And I believe even on their map, they might have had some accumulating snows back up into northern Pennsylvania. But you know what? I'm not going to fight a trend that's been so dominant all winter long. Why is this going to be any different than what it has been is beyond me.
True.
And then once that goes by, Joe, it's still pretty much this sort of progressive west to east pattern. Yeah, you got these cold highs, this cold air, across southern Canada. You've got a low that's going to try to move across out of the plains and go straight east into Pennsylvania, maybe winds up being a little further south and redevelops. But I really can't see how this is going to matter much, except maybe up in northern New England. And on it goes. And then we're at the end of the month. And who knows what battles we'll have to deal with when we get into the early part of April. I do want to bring up the teleconnections here for a moment. Give me 1 second, because I didn't look at them today. Let's see where they're taking us.
Just for the heck of it, I did look at this afternoon's GFS, and I did just for the heck of it go out 15 days, and it shows that by the time we get to April 1st, April 2nd, there is a rather unseasonably chilly aspect to it, with even some snow or flurry activity across much of the Northeast. So,
Mm-hmm. Well, that might be due to the fact that the NAO is actually forecast to go to neutral, believe it or not, by April 1st. But look at this Pacific North America index, Joe. The PNA, the deep trough in the west, the ridge in the east. It's off the wall negative. It's 4 standard deviations from zero from the flat line. And it's unrelenting from now right up until about the 28th or 9th. And even by April 1st, it's still very strongly negative. So, you're still fighting this sort of trough in the west, ridge in the east scenario. I mean, this is going to be bullish for two things. It'll probably be bullish for more snows out in the western part of the United States. It's also going to be bullish, I think, for severe weather episodes in the Gulf states, in the plains, come later during next week as these weather systems move through. The East Pacific Oscillation, the EPO, is negative now. It trends up to the neutral line toward the end of the month and goes slightly positive. This sort of explains why we do have these cold highs across southern Canada, because the EPO is negative, so that's usually higher pressures from the northern part of the Gulf of Alaska eastward into western Canada. So you're getting these highs that kind of spread across southern Canada, but it doesn't do you any good when you got this PNA, the Pacific North America Index, so off the wall negative. and the NAO just doesn't help you at all. So, um, yeah, I can't get too excited over this. I just can't.
Nope, not
Can't.
not much excitement to get over enthused about possibly for the end of the month or the early part of next month. Why don't we just take this winter, just crush it, throw it in the
I
wastebasket,
know.
and
Bring on warm weather. Enough. So here's, by the way, I just got the U.S. satellite loop as I didn't show it before. You can see the system in the eastern part of the United States now. I mean, the lead area of moisture that's moving eastward. So clouds are increasing and thickening up. And this is Joe's rain that he talked about earlier for later to overnight into Thursday morning. That could be on the order of about an inch or so in some places. Then I think you get a bit of a break, although you stay in clouds. And then you've got the storm, out in the west. You got all this energy and it's going to get ejected eastward, and this is what's going to wind up producing, trying to bring that warm front through. It'll also bring some more showers Thursday night into Friday morning, although it looks like most of those may go just north and west of the coast. After that, we'll see what happens Friday. I'm hoping we get up into the low and mid 70s. I've been saying it for days now, so it better happen for somebody.
yeah, I'm sure it will. I'm sure at least for places from New York City west and south.
Oh, like Washington, Baltimore, they're probably going to go to 80 with this.
Well, yesterday even I was thinking of maybe we might have a shot in parts of the immediate tri-state area at 80. I'm just a little concerned about where that warm front is going to be during the day on Friday and how much cloud cover and also again fog. I think late tomorrow night into the early hours of Friday morning, there may be places with some rather thick and dense fog, which is the earmark or the benchmark of a significant warm front, and especially in the early hours, the pre-dawn hours. So we'll see how that all pans out. A mild day coming up though on Friday, and then we'll see the temperatures slowly slide downward, like
Right.
like the stock market over the weekend
Yeah.
and early next week.
Lot of rain on the radar right now, Joe. Moving into Western PA, so we'll figure it's now coming up on 7:30. So that leading edge will get here in about 8 hours. So figure around 3 a.m. or so. But raining through all of Ohio, some heavy rains in northern Indiana into southern Wisconsin as of 7:30 Eastern time, and also in eastern Kentucky into Tennessee. And starting to see as of 7:30, we've got this working tornado watch in parts of Texas, and you're seeing some severe weather gelling up there. And now we're also seeing all this moisture in the southwest, and this is all part of what's headed up into Colorado and Wyoming, where we're already seeing some the leading edge of that precip moving in there in the areas that we have winter storm warnings and blizzard warnings that are up. So that part of the country's done pretty well this year, I have to say, from the standpoint of winter weather.
Yeah, well, the Western U.S. It's been a dichotomy, if you will, if I can use a $5 word. Here in the East, there has been some snow, but certainly nothing like what we would normally be used to seeing. The West, however, has had it all in terms of active weather, in terms of snowy weather, in terms of cold weather. But I mentioned yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, that on the overview of the winter, that for the United States, the contiguous United States in general, this is one of the warmest, like fifth or sixth warmest winter out of 125 years of record from coast to coast.
All right, so let's do a little bit of Veltman Jeopardy tonight. Okay.
By the way,
Now the category tonight is going to be a little different. Okay.
uh,
The category tonight is comparative statistics. All right. Okay.
all right,
So this is going to be we're going to compare New York and Albany. All right. Since
okay.
since 1884, which is when stats started in Albany, since 1884, this has only happened 9 times.
This is
Okay.
only all right, and you're not going to allude to whether or not it has anything to do with temperature or
I
precipitation.
won't say, but this is only between New York City and Albany since 1884. This has only happened 9 times.
I'll say that New York City had more snow in a any given winter season than Albany did.
That is correct. Now, Here is now, just like on Truth or Consequences, okay? Just like on Truth or Consequences, if you got the answer right, they always had to come up with a second one. They had a
Right,
second question ready.
right.
So here's the
Or
second.
Bueller the buzzer.
Right, exactly. Or I always like the Daffy Duck, Porky Pig version of Truth or Consequences, which was called Truth or You must pay the penalty. At
All
what
right.
latitude and longitude was the wreck of the Hesperus?
Or or Art Lamplighter on People
Yes,
Are Phony.
people are phony.
And you know what I think about that? I'm sorry to get off the subject, but when they did that, did you notice that the TV screen was black and white?
No, I never picked up
But
on that.
when they showed Art Lamplighter and they showed People Are Phony, the TV screen was black and white.
No, I never
It's like a
noticed
black and
that.
white show, or whatever. That's what
Oh,
you.
too funny. Okay, so the second part of this is the truth or consequences, or would be name each winter that this occurred.
Oh God.
Nah. Actually,
All
I
right.
know, no,
Let
but
me.
seriously,
I'm going to take. I'll. There were 8 of them. I'll.
nine,
I'll. 9.
nine.
9. I'll say one of those 9 was 1978.
Nope.
No.
There's an odd, yeah. There's a kind of odd thing that's happening here on these statistics. Okay, so and this might beg the argument. This might go to the argument that um, this sort of cyclical, this sort of cyclical uh, pattern that we've noticed, like in the last 20 years, how much more snow has fallen in the I-95 corridor versus the prior 30.
Right.
So I mean, I'm only looking at 2 points here, but what's interesting to me is that looking at these numbers, you have 96, 1896, 97, okay, 1906, 07, 1912-13, which stands out for a different reason because that's the only year that New York City's snowfall was actually below average. It was 15.3, and Albany only got 13.8.
Right.
Okay, 12-13, so 14-15, 16-17. Okay, so you have all these years bunched up. Then you go 31 years until you get to the next one, which is 48-49.
Okay.
Okay. Then you go 56 years until you get to the winter of 2005, 2006. Then it happened again in 2009, 2010, and then again 2015, 2016. So it's kind of odd
Yeah.
that you got all these bunched up years at the very beginning until about 1917. Then other than 48, 49, the next bunch is from 2005, 2005, 6, 9, 10, 15, 16.
That is odd.
Yeah, and actually, the year 1911, 1912 would have been the 10th, but um, but it missed by 4/10 of an inch. Otherwise, that winter would also be in this list. So it's very interesting that is the case. And that, except for that one winter, all of the other winters were above normal snowfalls for New York City.
And you think about it. I mean, we were growing up. I'm not going to mention how many years ago, but I mean, and we were wishing that we would have, lots of snow and big storms here in New York City, and we never did. And who would have thought that all of these years later, we're finally in the groove, so to speak. But now all of
Yeah.
but now all of you snow lovers out there, you're going through the same kind of suffering that Joe and I went through during
Right,
the.
and we know what, if we had even a remotely average winter, we wouldn't even be talking that much about the statistics. So just sort of, I don't know, we're just sort of rubbing it in, I guess.
Right, right. We still stand. Central Park still stands at 4.8 inches, and that's only happened 3 other times. And once we had 0. So this is out of 150 years of records. This is a standout winter if you don't like snow.
Yes, correct. So that pretty much wraps it up tonight. I mentioned I did my 8 mile walk. I'm kind of tired tonight, so I think we're going to wrap the show up early. Tomorrow is Thursday,
St.
so
Joseph's Day.
tomorrow is St. Joseph's Day. So
The
I'm,
Swallows return to Capistrano tomorrow.
and the Vultures come back to Hinckley, Ohio. Actually, I should. I haven't looked to
No,
see.
actually, Joe, I may be wrong. I may have to look this up. I think the Buzzards have already returned. They return on the 15th of March. The
Oh, they
Islanders,
want to get a head start.
they want to get a head start.
They get there 5 days early to plan, so when the next round comes in on the 19th, there
Right.
might be a few that'll just be a little bit out of breath.
And this will be the first time here in the Eastern time zone since 1896 that the vernal equinox will fall on the 19th of March. This will be the earliest that we have had it in 124 years, and it comes just under the wire, so to speak, at 10 minutes before midnight. Actually, if you really want to be accurate here, winter will end, or the vernal equinox, marking the beginning of spring, will begin at 11:49 and 27 seconds. Got it right down to the second here for tomorrow night.
Very good. By the way, I'm just I'm watching. I always watch in the springtime. You just reminded me. There's an eagle's nest up in Decorah, Iowa. This is a nesting pair of eagles that's been added for years, and they have been very successful in raising all their almost all of their eagle chicks. So they came back to the same nest like they always do. And what's really cool about this is that, first of all, Joe, I'm checking the nest now, so the mom is busy doing something. But they built this nest originally. It's right near a fish hatchery. So I mean, they really, it's like buying a house near, when you decide to buy the house, you want to buy a house near a supermarket. That's kind of what these eagles did. They come back to this nest every year. The often, you see them do, they're always bringing fish up there from the hatchery, but sometimes they do bring roadkill up,
Oh,
which is always very interesting.
lovely,
Oh, it is. It's quite lovely.
lovely.
And then every once in a while they get, there are owls that at night will come and try and grab the babies. So you see the eagles get like really, they get pissed.
Yeah.
So it gets, and then you'll see the owls flying by, coming pretty close, trying to get at the chicks, but usually they've never been successful. But the parents do get pretty upset and sound the alarms.
I don't have an eagle. I do have red-tailed hawks that fly around sometimes.
Yeah.
This morning I was awakened by a pileated woodpecker, and those are big, big birds. I mean, I'm talking.
Yes.
You ever see a large crow? The pileated woodpecker is approximately that size, maybe even a touch larger. And this one was banging on all my trees just outside my bedroom window, and it also makes a sound. In fact, I am, if I'm correct in this, Walter Lands, who created Woody Woodpecker, created him as a result of basically the same thing, having a pileated woodpecker, making those sounds and noises, and that's how the Woody Woodpecker was born all those years ago.
Yeah. All right, let's hang it up tonight. Looks like I don't know if ever there's not a big crowd tonight, Joe. We only got 48 folks. That's low. That's low for us. We usually try and have we're usually up to about 100. So I guess everybody is coronavirus out or just doing other things. But
Right. Let's
hope,
remind everybody that Monday night we tentatively will have uh, Captain Bill Kirk from Weather Trends 360, hopefully
yes,
on with us. And he refers to himself as the real Captain Kirk because he indeed fought in the Gulf War back in the late 80s and early 90s, and he is indeed a captain. So unlike William Shatner, who plays a pretend captain, Captain Kirk or Captain Bill Kirk, who will be with us on Monday night, is indeed a real captain, and he will be talking about Weather Trends 360, how the company works, the long range outlooks that they put out, and any number of things. If you have any questions on the chat board, we'll fire them at him, and perhaps he'll be able to answer them.
yeah. So hopefully I won't have any technical issues. We're going to try to make sure all the technical stuff works over the weekend so that we can have the three of us on at the same time. I'm going to put a link up because I saw that Tim asked for a link to the Decorah Eagles. There's actually several of them. Oh, nice shot here. Yeah, hang on a second, guys. So here's the link to the webcam. You can watch it on YouTube, but I'm gonna bring it up. I'll bring this up on the screen. Well, actually, I can't really do that. I don't know. I don't want to do that unless I know I'm allowed to. But right now, it looks like I don't know if it's the mom or the dad sitting on the nest. So, but one of them is sitting on the nest. We'll see
You know
what
how
happens.
nests are?
What's that?
You know how big an eagle's nest can be?
Oh, huge. This one's huge.
Yeah.
This one's huge.
Yeah.
So the link is out there on the chat for everybody. So give it a look. It's really very interesting. And take a look also at some of the other videos that are up there with regards to some of the experiences that this particular eagle pair has had over the last 5 or 6 years. And actually, there's the noise you're hearing is I got the YouTube up. But this is actually that male's second mate. His first mate died, didn't come back one winter, died in a snowstorm. So he found after that he found another female, and he's been with this female for I think for the last 8 or 9 years now, if I remember correctly. Uh,
Hmm.
and she was a young female, so he basically had to teach her how to maneuver the eggs and do everything. But it all worked out in the end.
Yes, everything does.
Everything does. So have a great night. Have a great rest of your evening, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow at the usual time, 7 o'clock Eastern. Good night, everybody.
Stay safe.